Welcome back to the next steps in our training on using the new Remine Forms and e-signature platform. Where we last left off was creating a new transaction. I currently am inside of my transaction and I have a purchase and sale agreement which I now need to send out to my buyer client for signature. We've gone through and completed the purchase and sale agreement in its entirety. And you can see that right now, up here in the left-hand corner, this contract is showing as private. That means that at the moment it is not being shared with anyone other than myself in my own transaction. To get started sending this out for signature, there are two options up here in the top right-hand corner. There is the send option, which will send this contract out by email. And there is the sign option, which you can use if the buyer client were sitting next to you and going through the contract with you at your desk. Let's go ahead and send. So we simply click on that send button. When I do, I get a document that pops up and it asks me what forms do I want to send out in this e-signature packet. Currently, I only have one form in my transaction, but if I had multiple, I can either select all or individually select the forms that I would like to send. And then I hit continue. When I hit continue, I get this warning and alerts. This is telling me that there are some dates and information on my form that hasn't been completed, which is kind of nifty if you want to go back and take a look at your contract and fill those things in so that you don't have any blanks. The system will not prohibit you from moving forward if you choose to, however, and so I am going to do so. I'm going to hit the continue button. Continue brings me up to where I can select who I would like to send this document to. I am currently working in the role of a buyer's agent, and I am going to send this contract to my buyer client for his signature. My buyer client is Bob Brown. His email address is buyerbobBrown@aol.com. I click off to send to him, and when I do get this warning that tells me that because I am currently working on the buyer side, and I do not have anybody on the seller side that is my client, I cannot send this to anybody on the seller side yet. The message will show your name, has shared, and then the contract or documents that you're sharing. You can change this by clicking and dragging and deleting, and then you can put in anything that you'd like here. As well, you have 200 characters for a message. And you can type up to 200 characters there. When you're ready, you hit send. It's going to tell me that the document has been shared with Bob Brown, and a reminder that to send any other applicable documents to recipients on the other side of the transaction once this has been completed. I'm going to go ahead and close. This is now sending out the document to Bob Brown. And I've been brought back into my transaction as if I were, going back in to do some more documents. I can either close out here, I can go back to my other transactions if I have any, I can do more work in Remine, or I can get out entirely. I am going to show you what it looks like from Bob Brown's perspective as your buyer client when he receives a document. So this is Bob's AOL account, and you will see that what came in was an email from me. It says who I am, that it is being sent via Remine, and then the title that I gave it. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and when I do, Bob will get a list of all of the different documents that have been sent to him and what it is that we're asking for him to do. We're asking him to sign this agreement. There's my message, and he's going to click on view all documents. This will create a version of the document for him to see. Now please disregard this warning. It's because I'm acting as more than one person in this transaction. So he would not see that warning. What he does see, however, is the document that I sent to him. It takes a brief second there to upload, and he can scroll on through and he can take a look, but he cannot change anything on this document. This is for him to review and then to sign. So he's scrolling on through. We can see that this is where the seller is going to initial, and this is where Bob is being asked to initial. Neither of them have done so yet, and that's why it's in this light gray color. When he's reviewed through the document, he comes up here to the top and he clicks on Sign. When he clicks on Sign, it's going to bring him to the first of his 6 action items. Over here on the left-hand side, he can see that he's got those 6 items. You also can see here up at the top that he has 6 items and 0 of them have been completed so far. When he clicks on the first action item, he will be prompted. He can either draw a signature, so, on a tablet or on a phone, he could draw his own signature, or he can type a signature. And when he does, it's going to come in and it is going to show you that this is Bob Brown and these are his initials. He can change the font if he chooses to, and he does have to accept to use the e-signature platform. So just a quick tidbit here. If you were working with, say, a power of attorney and the seller was Jane Jones, estate of Jane Jones, and Bob Brown was going to be your power of attorney. So he's actually the signatory on the bottom, but the seller at the top is different. You would start this transaction with estate of Jane Jones as the seller. And then when Bob comes in here, what he could do is he could clear that, and he could actually type his name as Bob Brown, POA, or however you might need to do that if you're working with a trust, for example. Or he can just leave it as it is because he's just good old Bob Brown here. Once he's acknowledged that he's going to use this, he can hit Create. Create is going to put those initials and his signature on this page in the format that he chose. It does scroll him down to the next, but I will show you now his initial is in blue because he has initialed in that section. And this is where he would click for the next. And for the next. And here's where he's going to sign. When he clicks on Sign, because we're using the smart form, it's going to actually put the date in next to his signature. That is something that you cannot override. So if you know that you're sending, for example, an exclusive right to sell contract out, and that your seller is going to sign that contract today, but is not going to be ready to put his or her listing into the MLS, you should make sure that you send that delay dissemination form out to them as well. Okay, so Bob has done everything that he needs to do here. He's signed everything. He's happy with it. He's going to go ahead and hit Done. When he hits Done, on the tab that he's brought to, he can download the form. He can look at the history of the form. He can see an audit report. He can review the document again. If he's all set, he just needs to close that tab. And then you as the agent would receive a message in your email that you have received a document for review, which is going to be here in your transactions. Again, this is not something that you would see. It's because I'm switching between people. So when I receive the message in my email that something has taken place in this transaction, I can log back into my Remine account and I go into my transactions and I see that this is the transaction where there has been a change to the signature. I go ahead and I click on that, It will also show me which form has been changed. So if I had multiple forms here, but this was the only one with a change, it would say signature changed here, and the other ones would not have that notification next to it. I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And what I will see is that on this form now, I have Bob's initials, and at the very bottom, I have Bob's signature. So the next step in this process would be to actually send this off to the other agent involved in the transaction so that they can present this to their seller. And we're going to do the same thing we did before. I'm going to hit send here at the top of the screen. It's asking me what I would like to send. It's going to give me those warnings about anything I might be missing. And now I'm going to say that I want to send this to my list agent A. I had not put list agent A's email and address in here before, so I do have the ability to do so here. List agent A at gmail.com. Now I will note that again, because we're sending this to the selling side, we cannot send it to the buying side at the same time. My message again looks the same. And again, whatever message it is that we might be typing to the agent. And then I hit send. And I'm brought back to my transaction, and again I can now close this and wait until I hear back from list agent A. Okay, and we proceed now as if we are acting in the role of list agent A, and I am receiving the email from the buyer's agent with the purchase and sale agreement. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. When I do, I have my view all docs, but you'll notice that here my requested action is edit and sign. The agents in the process have the ability to edit the documents in the transaction. The seller and the buyer do not. So as the agent, I'm going to view this document. And this time you'll see I have the ability as the agent to go in here and change any of these fields. I want to change dates. So I'm speaking with my seller client now as the list agent, and my seller client says, let's counter that at $325,000. It's going to tell me, because I made those changes, that it's going to require the buyer to sign the contract again. Do I want to proceed? I said yes. And you'll see that the change that I made is here in red. The field that was affected is here in yellow. I can also go in here and I can change some dates. So if I wanted to change the dates to something different, if I needed to put in a different closing date, anything like that, I can go ahead and do. Now I'm sitting here and I'm actually with my seller. My seller is sitting at my desk with me as we're talking about this, and I want my seller to go ahead and sign this contract. Instead of having to send it through the email like we did for Bob when he was not sitting with his agent, I'm going to use this sign option. When I click on sign, it's asking me what I want to have my seller client sign. I hit continue. Again, will give me a warning if there's a date that's missing or anything else. And right now, here I am Supreme Seller, and I'm going to sign now. Had I been sitting here at the desk and I was like, oh geez, all of a sudden remember I have an appointment I need to run to, I want you to send it to me by email, you can still click on send to sign and send by email, but we can use sign now. So the seller is asked to enter their email address. This is required as a way to be able to verify. It's a verification step, but it's also where a copy of that contract is going to get sent to, and they confirm that they are who they say they are, and they're click done. And now they're going to see exactly what it is that Bob saw on his side. They don't see his initials because we're countering, so this is not one he's already initialed or signed. We're going to go ahead and click on to initial, and also either type or draw the signature and initials as we did when we were the other side. Accept, create. Now the only page that's not showing the initials is that first one because that's where I made a change. If I had made a change on one of these other pages as well, the initials for Bob would not be showing there. And now I'm going to say that I am done. And now what I can do is send this off to the buying agent so that they have a copy of it. So Sue O'Brien is on the buyer side. That is the agent involved. I again can change my subject line. Type in my message and hit send. Okay, and now assuming the role again as the buyer's agent, I've been notified in my email that I received a document with changes, and I come in and I look and I see that it is on this transaction. I can click on that. I can open this up. And what I will see when I open it up this time is the changes that were made by the other side. The list agent and the seller changed the offer price, which then changed this bottom price here. I can also see now that the seller has signed this. My buyer will need to initial here again if they accept this counter. But what you'll notice is that there's no crossouts, there's no lining through and making markups on the document, but what you do have here is a history of everything that is taking place on this document. So you'll be able to see, what you sent out, what got changed, who changed it. When you click on it, it will bring you to that field. And then today's date was added. So I will hit continue. And now I have these changes that have been made. If Bob is accepting that those are changes he's willing, then we can send it to him. I'm going to just actually do the sign here as if Bob were sitting with me again. And this time it's only asking me to do that one thing because I've already done everything else. I'm going to accept to use it. I'm going to create that initial. And I am done. And now we have a fully negotiated document with both the seller initials and the buyer initials. And up here at the top, you're able to see that history. If you want to see the history, you can download this form to your computer. You can convert it to a PDF now that it's completely signed if you would like to. I'm going to go back here to the transaction so that you can see that it is complete. Over here, you can mark it as complete. If you wanted to send this off now, say to the lender and to the attorney, you could also do that. You open up that document. We're going to go ahead and send, just like we did before. And this time we're going to come down here to where it says add a recipient for view only. Click on that. We're going to say Bob's attorney. Oops. And you can continue to add multiples, so you can send banker, etc. And then you would just at the bottom here of the screen type in your message again and hit send, and then the copy of the document will go out, one that cannot be edited by the attorney or by the banker, obviously. So those are the steps to sending out a form for e-signature. I did show it to you as if you had the buyer and then the seller. I showed you as the buyer and as the seller, so that took me 21 minutes, but of course we saw a bunch of different sides there. Happy e-signing!